the planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet, stupid.
No. It's the planet, stupid.
As President Donald Trump tried to roll back a lot of federal environmental regulations, as you're aware, but they were often stymied, those efforts were, by the courts. Also, it was his first run. He was trying to do a lot of stuff. You had a lot of inexperienced people who were trying to execute his desires, and that lack of experience, and even employees who were there at the EPA and elsewhere providing resistance got in the way of him rolling back a lot of environmental regulations, although they did roll back a ton. But if he retakes the White House in November, it's thought that he'd be in a far better position to dismantle environmental and climate rules. And now there are sympathetic judges that he has placed throughout the system and conservative allies who have already put in place in Project 2025 and in other express strategies methods by which they can roll back a lot of the different environmental regulations that keep water, air, and soil at various levels of toxicity. And again, I'd like to see the air, water, and soil get even cleaner than it is. I think they're already very lax regulations, especially when it comes to corporate pollution and business pollution. But all of that said, it looks as though it's going to be going the other way. It's going to be easier for Donald Trump to roll back these regulations, said Myron E. Bell, who led the transition at the EPA after Trump won in 2016. They're going to have better people, more committed people, more experienced people. They'll be able to move more quickly and more successfully, he says. He's promised to repeal federal regulations designed to cut greenhouse gas pollution. This is what Trump is already pledging. Many of his allies want to go further. They're drafting plans to slash budgets, oust career staffers, put loyalists in key offices, scale back the government's powers to tackle climate change, regulate industries. Forget about that. Forget about restricting hazardous chemicals. That was already done in the first year of his administration. You may recall there was a question of the Clean Water Act, and there were challenges to the Clean Water Act because certain corporate polluters were being accused of not honoring the particulate matter and the other specifics around the Clean Water Act. And the Trump administration said, no problem. It was his EPA, you'll recall at that time. We'll just raise the amount of toxins allowed in the water. So you'll still be able to conform with the Clean Water Act. It's just that the amount of toxins that are now allowed in, quote, clean water is now going to be higher. So regulating industries, restricting hazardous chemicals, these are things that are all going to go away. And this next go-round really represents an opportunity for Trump to transform America in many ways that involve wildly friendly corporate polluters.
Well,
He's proposed...
Didn't they say they want to just get rid of the EPA and some other agencies as well? Like, just that's it. Don't even need it anymore.
Yeah, he's going to reclassify tens of thousands of career civil servants. That's also part of Project 2025, so it'll make it easier to fire them. And he's going to get rid of what they call the deep state. He and Steve Bannon, that's their thing. So that he's not going to have any bureaucratic guardrails. There are not going to be any of these legal ways to hold this administration that's coming in to account if it's a second Trump administration. Because of the Supreme Court in particular, he'll be able to get away with a lot more than anyone ever suspected, said the head of the EPA under George Bush, Christine Todd Whitman. She said the courts have effectively given a second Trump administration a free hand to slash regulations. So that's a drastic transformation in the EPA, which was created by Richard Nixon, as you know. And it's played a powerful role in American society. It's cleaned up a lot of the air. A lot of the air in Los Angeles is starkly different than it was during the 70s when they were saying to kids, don't go outside and play in the afternoon. Many of these changes to reduce smog and all these destructive toxins in the environment, they're going to be rolled back or eliminated completely. So handcuffing the EPA at best is what we're looking at, and significantly weakening, undermining, and maybe totally dismantling the EPA is what we're going to. It may be there in name alone is really what we're looking at. So rolling back all sorts of regulations.
I have a family member who is a scientist that works for the EPA, the federal EPA. And I'm so proud of the work that he's done in trying to make the soil better and the water better. And he said under Trump last time, he was pretty frightened to see all the memos coming through about things that used to be a big deal that were no longer a big deal anymore. And he said the best he could do was just put his head down and try to do the work and try to do the best that he could. But it was very frustrating, and he almost left and didn't.
I have friends at the Justice Department who said the same thing under Trump. In a 32-page section on the EPA in that Project 2025 document, the plan takes aim at the agency's authority to tackle global warming, including by revisiting a 2009 scientific finding that says that carbon dioxide emissions endanger public health. So, I mean, the blueprint also calls for repealing regulations governing air pollution from factories that cross state borders. You know, that was a big court case, very, very high profile. And the Supreme Court is now in the corner of polluters. Go ahead and pollute all you want. And the downstate runoff or pollutants that waft into the air, you're not responsible for those. Legally, anyway. And they want to reconsider limits on PFAS, those toxic compounds, the forever chemicals that are nearly half the nation's tap water. They want to reconsider limits on those. That's all in the Project 2025 document. They've even talked about eliminating EPA's Office of Environmental Justice, which focuses on reducing pollution in low-income and minority areas. They want to break up an office dedicated to children's health. They want to reset scientific advisory boards to expand opportunities for what they call a diversity of scientific viewpoints. And they want to appoint a political loyalist.
What is that? Go back. A diversity of scientific viewpoints. What does that mean? That facts aren't the ruler of the day?
Exactly.
That we get the fake news and the conspiracy theories mixed in with the science, and we get nothing.
Yeah, we reverse engineer it. We've already decided that we don't like the regulations, so we'll get to it by appointing a political loyalist as the agency's science advisor to reform the agency's research. They've talked about this specifically. This isn't me making it up. This is the plan. They install political loyalists, in this case at the EPA, and that becomes the agency's science advisor, and that informs science at the agency.
What do you say to somebody like Chris, who says the EPA was created to drive industry offshore? I mean, it's so ridiculous.
Chris, that's just bullshit, and you know it, pal. I mean, I just at some point, dude, do me a favor and float me something I can work with. You know that's bullshit. Now, if you're saying, I hate it when I have to recharacterize some criticism like this and try to make it palatable. You're saying by creating the EPA, industry was driven offshore where they can pollute. Is that what you're saying? I get it. Fine. Then drive them offshore where they can pollute. That's what I would say. So you're saying I hate the EPA because all the dirty industries had to go overseas and elsewhere. Great. I don't want the dirty industries here. Terrific. Can I help them to the offshore? Let me grab your bags. Get the F out of here with that. I don't want the slurry in the drinking water. I don't want the toxins in the soil. I don't want the tons. I'm talking about millions of tons of toxins going into the air. Forget about global warming, Chris. I'm sure you don't sign on to it. It's complicated. A lot of the scientists disagree. Okay, great. But don't you care about just the toxins? The ones that are getting deep into your lungs and producing cancers, emphysema? Don't you care about that at all? Or it's whatever business wants, if business wants it. It's just weak, dude. It's weak. I think we want the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the cleanest soil. We're the richest nation on earth. We ought to have it. And instead, we all stand aside and we let them piss in our pond. It's disgusting. That's It's the Planet Stupid for today.
More
It's the Planet Stupid. No, it's the Planet Stupid.
next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.